Coming up from March 13th to the 18th in Melbourne is the Birrarangga Film Festival, a First Nations film festival. And it's great to see it's happening again this year. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the artistic director of the Birrarangga Film Festival, Tony Briggs. Tony, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Hello.
Hello, Tony, can you
Hi.
hear me?
Did I freeze for a second then?
Okay, did you hear my introduction?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for having me on.
yeah, great to talk to you. Tell me about the challenges you face because this is such an extensive program this year in
Mm.
finding the films, etc., for the festival.
Well, the challenges in terms of finding films, no real challenges. There's so many out there. There's so many incredible filmmakers out there. I think the biggest challenge is keeping it contained, which I don't think I managed to do this year, because there are so many good films that just, there are a few of them that came to my attention late in the piece, and I couldn't ignore them out. I just couldn't ignore these films, and I had already chosen quite an extensive amount of films already. So that's kind of challenging. Every time, every couple of years, you get this influx of, well, because it is a biannual event, you get an influx of films, of current films and past films that that's a real mix for us. So I think that's really the biggest problem is trying to keep the festival contained.
Yes, I understand. And the issue for you might also be about films, First Nations films that are made by First Nations filmmakers, as well as those that are not.
Well, it's more the latter than the former. I mean, there's a lot of people making First Nation stories that shouldn't be doing that, and there are a lot of people who, don't aren't necessarily doing the wrong thing deliberately, wrong, in inverted commas, deliberately. Everybody, as a film, I'm a filmmaker, I understand how it goes. Everybody has a right to tell a story, but it's that conversation around telling stories without us and being able to reap the benefits of doing that, whether it be um, I don't know, whether it be monetary, whether it be on a professional level. You can tell these great stories and not involve people from the communities that you tell them, and you might be representing those communities in the wrong way. And quite often I've seen that over the years. So I think, one of the things we do here with Birrarangga is I try to, one of the rules we try to live by is that the three main creatives above the line have to be, producer, writer, director, have to be presenting the film. And in saying that, every festival I've put on, there's always been a collab. But that is at my discretion, I think, because sometimes there are stories that get made so well in a truly collaborative way, that is meaningful to to both parties. If I can express it like that, both parties, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, that the story itself can't be ignored, and I put aside that for the better, for the greater good, so to speak. Like there was a festival that we did. I'm not sure if it was the second one or that were had a lot of conversation going on around Indigenous women being kidnapped or taken and murdered, and them not being reported or even spoken about. And I just saw these. It was the theme coming through. And I don't search for a theme. I don't necessarily look for a theme. Just that, it just happened like that. And I just thought it would be. I just thought it was really kind of would be remiss of me to not include these films. And there are a lot of films because there was a very strong need for these filmmakers to be telling these stories that need to be seen, need to be spoken about. And I had friends afterwards say, look, it was pretty heavy, and you know, I was a bit heavy going, the brilliant films, and but one after the other after the other. And I said, well, try living in the community where that's happening in real life. I mean, you only have to sit in a cinema and watch it, and for an hour, 2 hours, half an hour, even 10 minutes, even, and then you get to leave and go back to the safety of your home, or and that's not to be dismissive about any woman of any background. It's just in terms of the conversation I was having, I sort of pointed that out, and she uh, really understood that. I said they have to be told because they're not being reported, and so on and so forth. So sometimes I'll bend the rules, or if it's there was there was another film that had not to do with anything like that, but it was a very powerful collaboration between an Aboriginal director and a non-Aboriginal director, and it was just an incredible story that just I opened the festival with. So, there are rules, but rules can be broken,
Mhm.
and if it's going to serve everyone, and in my opinion, I feel like those kind of stories serve everybody.
Okay, no, I understand what you're saying, and it's a fair comment as well. And I know it's always difficult to program a film festival and to reach the intended audience, but also to get the messages out and all that. So, look, well done on your perseverance on all of that.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about some of the films. And I noticed the opening night film is a film called Javida. Is that right?
Yavita, Yavita, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is one of those films I was referring to that came to my attention late in the game, and I had in my mind I was going to open with a different film, which would have done extremely well anyhow. But when I saw this one, it was really just took me by surprise. I just loved it. It's entirely in black and white. It's beautifully performed. It's a really uh, beautiful story about a relationship between a young woman and her auntie, and they're getting to know each other because they're going to this deceased estate that was left to them both, and so they get to know each other, and the story unravels from there. And the opening shot really just, I was like, I sat up. For me, it was like, other people might be like, oh yeah, that's nice, but I was drawn to the screen. I thought, this is the one. So Yuvita it's the first film that is shot entirely in the Scotch Sami language. So it's quite unique, and it's really beautiful, a really beautiful film that I think for those of us who are filmmakers are going to understand what I mean. For those of us who are not filmmakers are going to understand what I mean. It's a beautiful story.
Sounds great. Look forward to seeing it. Now, a film I have already seen is Our Warrior, the story of Robbie Thorpe. And this is
Mhm.
Anthony Kelly's documentary about Robbie Thorpe and his
Yeah.
activism, etc. And there's some great footage in there and interviews and so on.
Yeah. See, now Our Warrior is a prime example of what I was talking about. Anthony Kelly is a non-Indigenous director, but his association with Robbie Thorpe is really is vital to this happening, because I called Robbie myself, and got the seal of approval, and I did the diligence, my due diligence, and Tony Birch, who's also in the film, is a friend of mine, and he really sort of he said, look, you really should look at this film. So anyway, that's a prime example, and that thing has just gone gangbusters. It's just sold out, and we put an extra screening on. It's sold out, and so it's quite incredible. It just really speaks to the importance of telling stories that are relevant to who we are as a people, in particular in Victoria, because it's very rare that you get to see these kind of stories. There's people like Robbie all over this country, and from an historical point of view, these people are significant to the very fabric of who we are as Australians. Keeping everybody honest, as it were. And he's right at the pinnacle of that. He's always at the tip of the spear when it comes to that kind of stuff with Gary Foley and, late Bruce McGuinness and people like that, Louis Donahue, all those kind of people. So I think it's really important to be able to have. I'm very thrilled to have it. And had Anthony not got the tick of approval from, especially Tony and Gary, I wouldn't be screening the film. I just wouldn't. But that's the first thing I did. First thing I did was made a phone call, and so yeah, and it really is great. It's fantastic, fantastic film. I think it's evident in the fact that it sold out a couple of sessions. So.
Yes, yes, no, it deals with a number of really important issues. So, yes, a
Mm, mm.
really good film. One I've heard a lot about is one called Free Leonard Peltier, I think it is.
Yeah, free Leonard Peltier. Again, another one that came late to me. In fact, I think it was the day after Evita, and I thought I'd seen everything, and then I was watching this film late at night, and at first I was like, oh, documentary, and talking about these films that are really hard hitting, you've got to understand that I have to watch all of these films, so they really affect me, So sometimes I get to a point like, oh, I don't want to, I just, and I leave it, and then I go, oh, I have to watch this film. And it's this scramble of trauma that I'm watching and pouring over, and I'm watching this film, and I had a bit of a moment like that at the very beginning of the film. He paused, went about and did something for an hour or two, and I thought, oh, I'll just watch it. So I sat down and I was watching this thing and going, what the hell? 74, 5 or something like that. It was set, talking about a particular time period there that this man, Leonard Peltier, was accused of killing two FBI agents, and he was put away for 50 years. And it's just the footage that they've got. Oh, it's incredible. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I felt like I was there. So I watched this film and I could not turn it over. It was late at night and I was, nodding off at the very beginning, and then next minute I'm wide awake and I couldn't go to sleep. And then I went to bed eventually, and I'm lying there staring at the scene. Going, wow, that's amazing. I fell asleep and I dreamt about him actually all night, which is, anybody who knows me knows that that's quite weird that I remember even that I've had a dream, let alone anything else. And I woke up thinking about him again. And then my wife said to me, he's been freed. I'm like, what are you talking about? Leonard Peltier has been freed. I didn't even know about this story prior to this film. And oh, I couldn't believe it. So in the last 2 minutes of his presidency, Joe Biden granted him freedom. He's under house arrest. He hasn't got full clemency, but he's out of there. And he said, I'd rather die at home than in that place. I've survived so long. This is freedom. So, and because he's under house arrest, he couldn't come to our festival. But one of the exciting things is that, initially we weren't sure whether we were going to get that film because the producers were unsure because they really wanted to, they didn't want it to jeopardize their chances at MIF, and they'd been in talks with MIF, and which it occurred to me that it was in the back of my mind there somewhere because, I'm part of MIF, I'm on the MIF board, but then I didn't really. So anyway, I spoke to Alcocer and, and stepping outside of taking one hat off, putting the other one on, I stepped outside of it and they deliberated and talked about the possibility of doing a co-presentation with us. And they all agreed, and that's happened. So it's a co-presentation of the Melbourne International Film Festival. It doesn't affect the screening at all for the producers when MIF comes on, and it works for everybody because it's such an important. It talks to the very core and the very heart of who we are as Indigenous people all over the world. This film, as do most of the films, Our Warriors, a prime example, and it's just a perfect fit. So I just had to have that film.
Fair enough. Yeah. Again, sounds like a great film. I'm so glad you've programmed Origin. I really liked Ava DuVernay's film.
Mm.
Very much underrated, and I think it deals with some great issues. So I hope people go and
Yeah.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Peter. I'm glad you brought that up because, I'd seen it when it came out, but what I couldn't understand was why it wasn't getting, any traction. I really couldn't understand it, and we wanted to screen it outside of our festival, and I all for all kinds of reasons, and it was just too hard. So we pursued it, and yeah, look, the thing is that I've always felt the same as you. I just think that these kind of stories are sometimes a little bit too close to the bone. The way she makes films, yeah, it's there that you can't ignore the facts, and the way she puts the facts together
Mm.
are things that if you have a smidgen of guilt about somewhere in your life that's something a topic she's talking about, you kind of recoil. But I'm drawn into this kind of stuff because these they always, of course, they always resonate with me as a black man. These stories that she tells, and I just sort of, I kind of, you know that to the establishment for not supporting a story like that, because it's blatantly obvious that the very thing she's talking about is the very thing that is stopping a film like this from getting huge traction. I mean, she should have been nominated at the very
Mm.
least for an Academy Award for this, and she's an Academy Award nominee and Emmy Award nominee, and then the record
Yep.
speaks for itself. And we also reached out to Stan Walker, and asked if he would come to the festival because he sings the soundtrack to a track of that film, the main track of that film, and he's agreed. So it's a gala night that we're presenting this film, and Stan will be performing after the film at the gala night, which is a major coup for us and Brett. First time we've ever done any kind of gala thing. We're
Mm.
like, I mean, again, we've bitten off more than we can chew, but it's really panning out to be something special, and with a week to go, and yeah, so Origin is another example of where I just thought, well, it's the story itself, the message itself self is bigger than anything that I'm trying to do. So if I can help facilitate that message with what I've got, then that's what I'm going to try and do. And that's what
Great.
we're doing.
Oh, excellent stuff. I'm so glad you've done that. Now, I've spoken to Ivan Sen a few times, and I loved his film Limbo.
Mm.
And I'm glad you're screening that, but he's also doing a masterclass during the festival.
Yeah, I'm still pinching myself that Ivan has agreed to come and support our festival because he's just quietly he's a bit of a hero of mine too, and I've not had the pleasure of working with him, so this will be the first time in any capacity. And some time ago there was a possibility of us being on a panel at the same time, and something happened. It just couldn't work out for me. So I'm thrilled that Ivan's coming along to share some of his secrets, I guess. I think the thing too with Ivan, and one of the main reasons is because he does everything, and he does everything extremely well. And that's a very rare beast for someone
Mm.
who can do everything, edits, shoots, directs everything. So I think that's that. I mean, that is the main reason why we wanted somebody like Ivan to come along and share that and impart their knowledge with people. And he didn't even blink an eyelid, and I was like, wow, this is great. So yeah,
Excellent stuff. And I noticed too you're screening an Oscar-nominated film called Sugarcane, which I've heard a great deal about.
yeah, sugarcane again. Um, uh, uh, I, gee, I can hardly say enough about that. You know, Sugarcane is an investigative exploration of um, a situation that unfolded when there was a discovery of human remains at a old school, like a residential school. I was hesitating because the word mission was popping around in my head. I don't know, it's like a similar thing here in Australia, a residential school, and it led the filmmakers on this journey to find out what the remains and what happened, and it's quite gruesome and quite traumatic, and it's like it's again one of those stories. But one of the directors, um, as we move forward into the story, one of the directors, it turns out to be a very personal journey for him, and he it's a whole self-discovery thing because the residential school, his whole family, or all his community, not the entire community, but a lot of his community were taken to this particular residential school. So he follows that journey, and this thing ends up getting an Oscar nomination, and it was. I was like, what? They got an Oscar nom, and I'm like, did we script? Have we put this in our program? I'm like, yeah, my God, we did. And so, yeah, I've got it in there, and really, really excited. That's another amazing film. So, this is an example of why it was really difficult to keep it contained, the whole festival. When these things come along and you've got a little bit of there's a window of opportunity there, I really try to kind of pry the window open a bit more and shove a little bit more in there. And that's what I've done with this. Yeah, it's really great. It's fantastic.
Oh, well done on that. It's a lot of good films. And I also just wanted to mention that you have quite a few short films that are
Mm.
screening as part of the festival.
Yeah, we have. We've got short packages that have been curated by various people from, Canada, America, and there's Sami filmmakers and whatnot. So we got kids and teenage package films. I think anybody who's interested in coming along and checking it out, only need to get onto our website, and then it's all there. Everything's in there for you, and they're pretty incredible. I think what I'm really excited about as well, as far as the shorts are concerned, is the Around 360 program, which we have. We have 11 short films made by Sami filmmakers, and they were shot in 360 degrees. And we're presenting it at Nant Studios, at Dotlang Studios, and we're co-presenting with the Nant Studios, which we're really proud of. And these films look extraordinary, actually. I'm really blown away. So traditionally, the Sami home was what's called a lavu. It's similar to lookings to a teepee, if you can imagine. And inside, what they had done, they built replica, of course, and they built screens around the circumference of the interior of the lavu, and they would present the films like that in a traditional kind of setting, and extraordinary. So we tried to get the lavus out here, which we're still working on for the future, and it's looking good. But this time around, it was just a little bit too tricky. But we've got it at the net at Dockland Studios, Nant Studios, and we're really thrilled about that. So that's some of the short films that people can come and look at for themselves.
Oh, terrific stuff. And you've got other venues around Melbourne, like the Capitol and many other sort of venues to screen these films. So it's
Yeah.
congratulations on all that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm really, really grateful, really proud that so many venues have jumped on board, and we've got, an awful lot of support, and people are really starting to rush now and buy tickets, we've noticed, and it's pretty exciting. We're pretty excited.
Excellent stuff. Just let everyone know the website so people can get more information and book tickets and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's birrarangga.world, BIRRARANGA.world, Birrarangga.
Excellent stuff. And that's March 13th to the 18th,
Yep.
the Birrarangga Film Festival. Tony Briggs, great talking to you. Tony Briggs is the artistic director of the Birrarangga Film Festival. And Tony, as always, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. All the best.
Bye now.
Bye bye.